Uber's
Yeah.
earnings
Yes.
morning.
There's my notes. I listened to the conference call twice. I'm going to do this fast. So listen up. This is Wall Street 101. Uber reported another loss, $1.2 billion they lost. 512 million came from equity investments in Didi. They sold Zomato for a huge loss. You know, they hold on to these other companies because when they exited China and Russia, they ended up taking stakes in these companies, and we know what's happening to those companies. So they're just losing their asses on that. But at some point, they're going to write these things down to zero. Then there is no more loss. But the other big part that's not in here that I came out of the conference call, which I talked to a couple of analysts about, is they have $486 million for stock options for their executives. And that's Adam those two and a couple $100 million in other stuff. They came up with a $1.2 billion loss. However, business is performing, engine is hitting on all cylinders. Mobility is doing great. Delivery is doing great. Uber One is getting major traction. Now, this is from Dara. Okay, he's always very positive, great salesman, like, you know, whatever. But the proof is in the pudding. The stock was up 14% today on a down day. Look, I think Uber will be free cash flow positive, which they are quite a bit at the moment. This EBITDA stuff will go away if everything continues and the macroeconomics don't get into the situation, meaning inflation doesn't hurt people's pockets. They stop spending on burritos and $30, 3-mile trips. Shit's going to hit the fan. Otherwise, at the moment, this engine is primed and is hitting on all cylinders. You know, gross bookings were up, revenues were up, even the driver earnings were up. Dara said on active hour, average driver earnings in the US is $36 an hour. You all can go listen to the conference call free. It's on the website, on the Uber investment website. He said that again, 36. He said 36 per active hour. That includes tips and incentives, people. And that's active hour. That means engaged hour in Lyft world. That means, you know what that means, right? So, I mean, stock, company is hitting on all cylinders. Everything is going wonderfully well, barring a slowdown in the economy, a recession, because none of these companies had faced a recession. So here's the notes I took. The 36 hour I told you guys about. He said pickup ETAs are down to 6 minutes as well, and surge is also going down. For Uber, that's a good thing. For drivers, that's a horrible thing. The reason for that is happening, he said there is more drivers on their platforms than ever before. Their attrition rate is going down. They're sticking around more. They're working more because, again, the macroeconomy is hurting people, obviously inflation, and they're out there driving to make a couple $100 extra bucks to put food on the table, and they're doing it. So actually, that part of the economy is helping Uber with driver supply. They have no problem with driver supply. So therefore, they're cutting the incentives as well because they don't have to pay, higher costs for people to get out because they have plenty of drivers. Upfront front destination is having great success, he said. I'm like, of course it does. Of course it does. They hit on the fuel surcharge. He said fuel surcharge staying for the time being, unlike Lyft. He even mentioned Lyft. And he said, we're going to keep it. And I think, we are the chosen platform. He said that too. And you know what? I agree with him. You have upfront destination. Okay, forget upfront fares. We'll talk about that next week. Upfront destination. Lyft doesn't have it. Why the heck would I drive for Lyft? Unless I'm platinum or some other diamond or whatever the heck I am. Uber is giving it to you for free.
Money with stay in the area.
Huh?
I said, or if they're showing you the money and you use that stay within area filter.
Yeah, that's that, man. That thing is gold. Okay, well, we'll talk about that next week. And then, so he says retention is at an all-time high. Onboarding, they're constantly onboarding new drivers with less cost because of the macro economy. People have to make more money, so they are, we call it oversaturation or flooding the market. They're not doing it on purpose. They don't need more drivers. It's just about people are signing up right and left because barriers to entry is easy. And people need to make more money because their W-2s are not paying enough. And here is the big one. Two analysts asked them about the double algo. Okay? One of the analysts I consult for. And he had the balls to go, hey, Dara, he goes, what about's happening with the algorithm on the upfront destinations? This is Dara's answer. I wrote it down. He goes, we got rid of minutes and, miles and minutes. And he goes, there are 4 things, he said, that are figuring into the pricing. He said the same thing, by the way, Chris. He goes, we have to price trips correctly if we don't want people to decline trips. He said UFD is calculating the out of the 60 things that are in that black box algo, the 4 most important ones that get the weight of a pricing of a trip. He said, how many drivers are in the area? So that's what number 1 thing that the algo is looking at. So with the macroeconomics and every 8 drivers at every corner, right? So the algo is looking at it like, I'm not going to price this too high because there are 8 drivers. If one doesn't take it, the other one's going to take it. That's number 1. Number 2, how many drivers are at destination? Okay, that's the number 2 that the algo is looking at. The distance and duration of the pickup. It says the algo is going to price a ride lower if you're only picking up half a mile away, 3 minutes away, versus if it was 5 miles away and 15 minutes away. So those trips are the algo is going to price higher. I'm not buying that. And the last thing he says, we're going to price trips higher if we think this driver is going to suffer a lot of dead miles coming back from a trip, which I knew was a lie because we know on longer trips now, Uber is paying 20 to 30% less, right? All these trips that we see, 130 miles for $80 and shit like that, right? So, but nobody challenged him on that, but they at least asked him that question. So bottom line, Uber is doing fantastically well. They're not getting rid of the fuel surcharge yet, so people relax. Mobility bookings are up, delivery gross bookings are up, revenues are up, and lastly, Uber put $10.8 billion into drivers' pockets. They call it earners in the last quarter. And that money went into the economy, people, because people put that in their bank accounts and went and bought food and paid their rent, and all kinds of good things happened because that was $10.8 billion with a B. And Uber did 1.95 billion trips last quarter, up from 1.875 billion where we did our Uber math, Chris. Remember that one? Nickel and dime business?
Yeah, I was just going to ask, how much is an extra dime that they take with 1.95 billion?
On 1.95, it's 195 million now.
$195 million extra just by or by diming your drivers.
Timing, baby, timing. So everything is wonderful, Uberland. No worries. Stock has responded. The executives were very happy the way the company is performing. And, it was like a good call. I listened to it twice. I wish they had asked some other questions, but of course, they have to be polite. They can't ask any of that stuff. So there you go.
This is on the investor side of things. So if you're an investor, you're happy. If you're a driver, you're not going to be so happy.
Not happy.
For me personally, over the last 3 weeks, I've noticed each week, every single time, those 2 different promotions that come in, your weekday and your weekend quests, they're just dropping. Like the one I have right now, you're getting $1 extra, which is what it used to be like a few months ago. Then it started rising again.
Garbage.
And they were giving some extra bonuses on top of that. So they've completely did away with it. I mean, obviously Halloween weekend was this past weekend, and
it wasn't good, Chris. It was the worst Halloween. It was bad. I only drove on Saturday. Huh?
It depends on where you were, because certain places where you are, the different parties going on. If you add the mix like DoorDash or Uber Eats into it, you could have gotten out there and made some money.
I only drove on Saturday. Last year, I made $65 an hour on Uber, and this year I didn't even turn my Uber app on because Lyft was showing me the money, right? But the 1.95 billion trips, people, you got to respect that. Okay, they squeeze 1.95 billion trips into their system. That's insane amount of trips. What do you say, Steve? What do you think? The company is doing well.
I think the company is doing well. I think globally they're going to do well. I don't see them back, and I don't know where Lyft is now. I
Oh,
really don't.
Lyft.
I really don't.
No.
Not one trick pony.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's nice that they're
there's-
still around just to pretend like they're competing, but
All right, thanks for watching. That short little clip was from our live stream, Show Me the Money Club with Sergio and myself, Tuesdays, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Make sure you subscribe, turn on all notifications so you'll be notified when we go live, as well as all of our awesome content. Make sure to check out this video right here, which will take you to the entire live stream, or check out this video right there. All right, drive smart, everyone.